A quiet warning from Ace Frehley left Gene Simmons shaken, one sentence that hinted at a darker truth behind Kiss's fame.
It's been up and down for 50 years with Ace, and the fans often would hate me for telling the truth. When the kids are at home and it's mom and dad, and all of a sudden dad gets thrown out of the house, the kids don't understand. They love mom and dad.
The story begins in the shadowy corridors of rock history, where larger-than-life personalities often conceal tensions that never fully fade. When Gene Simmons spoke about Ace Frehley, it wasn't just another nostalgic reflection. It carried a tone that hinted at something unresolved, something darker than the usual band drama. Fans of Kiss have long been aware of the turbulent relationships that shaped the band's legacy, but this particular revelation stood apart because of its emotional weight. Simmons described a warning Frehley once gave him, not as a casual remark, but as a moment that lingered in his mind for years, echoing like a distant chord that never quite fades. It wasn't shouted in anger or delivered in public spectacle. Instead, it came quietly, almost as if Frehley understood something others didn't, something that carried a sense of inevitability. Simmons recalled the atmosphere of that time as tense yet oddly calm, like the silence before a storm that everyone senses but no one acknowledges. Their relationship had already been strained by creative differences, lifestyle choices, and the pressures of fame, yet this moment felt different. It was personal, it was introspective, and above all, it was unsettling. Frehley's words, according to Simmons, were not just about the band or the music, but about the cost of staying in a world that demanded everything while giving very little in return. The warning seemed to reflect a deeper understanding of the emotional toll that came with living under the constant glare of the spotlight. Simmons, known for his confidence and business acumen, admitted that the comment caught him off guard. It forced him to pause and consider a perspective he had rarely entertained. For someone like Simmons, who thrived on control and ambition, hearing such a grounded and almost somber reflection from Frehley created a moment of rare vulnerability. It suggested that beneath the makeup and theatrics there were real fears, real doubts, and real consequences that couldn't be ignored forever. As Simmons recounted the memory, there was a noticeable shift in his tone, as if revisiting that conversation brought back emotions he hadn't fully processed at the time. He didn't frame Frehley as an antagonist or a cautionary figure, but rather as someone who saw the cracks forming before they became impossible to hide. The warning itself wasn't detailed in dramatic specifics, yet its impact was clear. It lingered because it challenged the narrative Simmons had built around success, loyalty, and resilience. It raised questions about whether the relentless pursuit of fame was worth the personal sacrifices it demanded. Fans who heard Simmons share this story found themselves drawn not just to the revelation, but to the complexity of the relationship it exposed. It wasn't a simple tale of conflict or reconciliation. It was a glimpse into the human side of a band that had often been defined by its larger-than-life image. The idea that Frehley, often portrayed as unpredictable and detached, could deliver such a profound message added another layer to his legacy. It suggested that his perspective, shaped by his own struggles and experiences, carried a depth that wasn't always visible on the surface. Simmons didn't dismiss the warning or downplay its significance. Instead, he acknowledged it as a moment that stayed with him, influencing how he viewed not just Frehley but the entire journey of Kiss. It served as a reminder that even in a world built on spectacle, there are moments of truth that cut through the noise. These moments don't always lead to immediate change, but they leave an imprint that shapes future decisions and reflections. For Simmons, that warning became part of a larger narrative about understanding the people around him, even those with whom he had differences. It highlighted the importance of listening, even when the message is uncomfortable or unexpected. The story resonated because it revealed a side of rock history that is often overshadowed by headlines and controversies. It showed that behind every public persona, there are private conversations that carry far more weight than any performance or interview. As fans revisited the legacy of Kiss through this lens, they found themselves rethinking the dynamics that defined the band. The tension, the creativity, the success. All of it was intertwined with moments like this, moments that didn't make it into the spotlight but shaped everything that followed. Simmons' willingness to share this memory added a sense of authenticity to his narrative, reminding listeners that even the most confident figures are shaped by the words and actions of those around them. It wasn't about assigning blame or rewriting history. It was about acknowledging the complexity of relationships that exist in high-pressure environments. Frehley's warning, whatever its exact wording, became a symbol of that complexity. It represented the idea that sometimes the most important messages are the ones delivered quietly, without expectation, yet carrying a weight that lasts far beyond the moment in which they are spoken. As the years moved on and the spotlight around Kiss only grew brighter, the memory of that quiet warning never really faded for Gene Simmons. It stayed in the background, resurfacing at unexpected moments, during long tours, backstage silences, and even in the middle of roaring crowds where everything should have felt like triumph. Simmons began to realize that what Ace Frehley had hinted at wasn't just about burnout or frustration. It was about something deeper, something tied to identity and the